sneak in, kill the warlord, and enjoy the carnage as they fight for his crown. It always works. Hopefully, the chaos will interrupt the work on the Skittergate and give us more time.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Vermintide 2, and today we're going to be heading into the ruins of Karak Knoll, once preeminent amongst the ruins of Garra's Peak in the Grey Mountains, now fallen into disrepair and overrun by, you guessed it, the Skaven. I'll be playing as the Handmaiden today, a character that a lot of people felt was going to be really bad during the beta, but has actually risen to be a staple amongst a lot of teams at higher levels of difficulty. We'll be talking a lot about that as we move through the gameplay here. I'm using the glaive and the longbow as we head into the heart of the mountain. Gives me a nice mix of armor killing potential and long range sniping. And I must say, it's been really nice to start playing Elf again. I mean, she's the blunt end of a lot of memes. She gets a bad rap for sure, but she's really fun. I've always really enjoyed playing her, and I've loved the voice acting of Alex Wilton Regan since the first game. The glaive was actually my favorite weapon in Vermintide 1. It was godly during a long stretch after Castle Drakenfell's DLC, where it had the ability to basically one-shot kill any clan rat to the body on Cataclysm, but that eventually got nerfed to a point where you had to get headshots to actually get a one-shot on Cata. But where it suffered in the first game was its maximum targets per swing. It could only ever hit a maximum of 2 targets at once, and that meant that its usefulness as a crowd control weapon in those kind of scenarios was a bit limited. One way to mitigate that problem was to block cancel, which is to say, swing once, block to cancel the backswing of the animation, then immediately swing again. Makes it a lot speedier, gives you a lot more mobility, makes your attacks come out a lot faster than doing the full attack chain, and this mechanic has been carried over to Vermintide 2, so you'll see me doing that a lot in this game. But no longer does it have the same issues with crowd control. With sufficient power level, you can carve your way through slave rats and stagger much more of them than you ever could in the prequel, and it still retains all the massive armor killing potential it had back then, so suffice to say, it's a really good weapon overall right now. Longbow is super nice as well, obviously gives you a ton of headshotting potential, long range sniping, taking out specials quick and early. You want to get those off the field as quickly as possible before you get overrun, so that's why I'm rocking it with the glaive here. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about Handmaiden herself. Why is she good? What does she bring to the table? Why would Carillion want to be a part of the Everqueen's personal retinue? And how does my build synergize specifically with her skill set? Well, she's kind of the tank of the Elven classes, but not in their traditional sense. Her entire career tree is about stacking stamina and stamina regeneration to a point where you can easily block a massive amount of incoming attacks and then escape out of very bad situations. Dance of Seasons is her first passive, gives her increased dodge distance, which is really nice and very noticeable when you're using a weapon like the glaive, which typically doesn't have a ton of mobility. For those who don't know, bigger weapons typically make the character move slower and dodge less efficiently, so dual daggers will always give you like the pinnacle of mobility, while something like a two-handed sword would make you move slower, dodge less efficiently, that kind of thing. But that's much less of a problem on Handmaiden because your passive dodging is going to be a lot bigger than it would on the traditional characters. Ariel's Blessing allows her to revive teammates without being interrupted by attacks, which can be a run saver for sure. If someone goes down in the middle of a horde, it is very nice to be able to not get interrupted. Of course, you should be block reviving anyway. This is a mechanic that I'm sure most of you know about, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you revive a teammate, block while you're doing it. You can do that. I think some of the newer players might not know that yet. You can literally hold block, and you'll block all incoming attacks while you revive a teammate. Azrai Vigor at level 5 grants an extra stamina shield. By the way, this is where the Grim is, the first Grim on the map. You just go up on that scaffold, come over here into the tower. That is your first Grim. Where was I? Yeah. Azrai Vigor at level 5 grants you an extra stamina shield. Defiance at level 10 reduces damage taken by 50% when she's the last hero standing. And Hukon's Tenacity at level 15 increases her stamina regeneration speed by 30% on top of her renewal passive, which already grants stamina regen in and of itself. And her ultimate ability is simply called Dash. It allows her to cover a ton of ground super quickly, like that, while phasing through enemies and damaging anyone she comes into contact with. And with only a 25-second cooldown, it's almost always ready to use, which means you can reposition like crazy to get good angles of attack, escape from specials, snipe down enemies that are kind of hidden or obscured by objects, and you can reinforce allies in a blink. Most important thing about this character that I need to point out, as I missed a couple of shots on Longbow like a bad kid, is that you can begin reviving a downed teammate, use your ultimate dash to get out of harm's way, and you can still continue that same revive from max range. You'll see me do it a few times this video, but it is a lifesaver. It's the kind of support no other character can provide that can be the difference between winning and losing, and it is insanely good. It is beautiful. Well, I say no other character. I think you can actually do it with Kruber's charge attack and with Slayer as well. The problem with those is that if you make contact with an enemy, you're gonna stop right there. Not necessarily with Knight, depends on what kind of mass. If you hit like a Chaos Warrior, you'll stop dead, but if it's a bunch of Slave Rats, you'll bounce through them. But the cool thing about her dash is that you'll phase through enemies, you'll automatically go the max distance as long as you don't cancel your block. So that's huge, right? Like, think about that in situations where you've got an enemy down or an ally down in the middle of a horde. You can go up to them. Yes, you're getting attacked. Yes, your stamina is going to be able to last a lot longer on Handmaiden than it will on other characters. But there's still a limit to that. It'll still break at some point. But if you start the revive, dash through the horde, and then finish it away where you're safe, you're not going to get your block broken, and you'll be able to revive that character. That's gigantic. It can literally be the difference between winning and losing. And that's another point I have to make. When you dash with this character, you can actually cancel the dash with block. So, say you don't want to go through a horde and then be isolated out on the other side of that horde and kind of be caught out by yourself. You can just dash like 2 feet, and then if you hit right click, you will stop right there. Gonna blow that Rattling Gunner's head off with a nice aim shot from the Longbow. Take out some of these Slave Rats, and then try to take out that Rattling Gunner from long range. Get that one too. So, she has a decent amount of ammunition. Nice to rock her with Ranger as well. Obviously, the ammo drops from the Ranger will be very nice when you're going for those headshots. You don't have a massive amount of ammo, but you can supplement that with your level 5 talent. One of her traits gives her, I think, 40% more ammunition, so you could go for that. But I like the stamina just because it helps synergize with her whole idea, right? Which is to be able to revive teammates in really bad situations, to be able to clutch. She offers a massive amount of utility and clutching potential, especially when she's the last one alive. And so there's a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff you can do with her that can just save runs. As I take out another Storm Vermin there. Run's going pretty smooth right now. We got the Grim, we got a Tome, and we're doing all right now. You can see the Glaive, just so much better in terms of crowd control than it was in Game 1. This is Champion, by the way. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the run. This is Champion with pubs, with random people that I don't know. I've completed it on Legend multiple times already, but with people that I would consider are quite good players, and with characters that I was playing that I've already put a lot of gameplay up for. And that is one of the things about doing this on YouTube. Like, some people just want to play that one character and get them to 30 and keep rocking them out and try to get reds for them, which is cool. I mean, that's a completely fine way to play. But I personally cannot play that way. I need to try out all the different characters, try out the different weapons, and especially from your guys' perspective, I feel like that's what you guys want to see too. You don't want to just see the same character over and over again in every video. You definitely want some variety, you want map variety, you want weapon variety, you want character variety, and so I'm definitely going to do that. And that, thankfully, works out well for me too, because that's my preference. I don't want to just play the same character over and over again. But Into the Nest specifically is a map that can give pubs a lot of problems, because there's a very tough boss fight at the end, and it seems like it's actually gotten harder since the most recent patch. Seems to be a lot more ambient spawns that come in alongside the Skaven Warlord that you fight at the end. His name's Scarrick Spine Mangler. Very nice name. Has a lot of the same, if not the exact same, animation sets as Crench did in Vermintide 1, but he's still a fun boss fight for sure, and very challenging. And so I don't really recommend going into a pub game on this map in particular on Legend. I don't know that I really recommend Legend pubs at all right now, to be honest. I think you want to get a pre-made group when you jump into them for sure. But yeah, even though Legend is certainly a very big step up from Champion in terms of difficulty, there are times where playing with a pre-made group, Legend will feel relatively easy, and then easy is a bit of a stretch. I don't want to sound cocky at all, because it's not. Like, Legend is not an easy game mode, but there are times where if you're playing with really good people and you synergize well with each other, you can feel like a run went pretty smoothly and easily. And then there are times where, even on smaller, not as hard difficulties, even like Veteran or Champion, where it feels a little bit more challenging, either because the spawns get crazy or just because you guys don't communicate or work together quite as well as you would as a pre-made group. But that's fine. It's part of the challenge. It's part of the fun. I actually really enjoy jumping into random games and just seeing what we can do, because a lot of the situations that you typically won't find yourselves in with a group of really talented players, you will in this, and then trying to clutch those can be an absolute blast. But then, of course, there are also plenty of players that you can run into randomly that are better than you or better than me. And that's always a nice surprise as well, to run into a group of competent people that you didn't know beforehand that weren't part of a pre-made group. Now, I'm not level 25 with the elf yet. Haven't dropped many oranges for her. This is one of my first games getting back into Cerulean since launch day. So you've probably seen some crappy longbow shots. Definitely need to work on my accuracy right now. Shake off some of that longbow rust because it has been a while since I've used it. But I definitely recommend getting to level 20 before jumping into Legend with elf specifically, but really any character. You want to have that bloodlust. Helion kills is just so invaluable, and so is her level 25 talent, which is one of the most unique in the game. So Gift of Ladriel, Lady of the Mist, makes her disappear from enemy perception for 3 seconds after using dash, which again gets 25-second cooldown, and you can use it all the time. And that will literally de-aggro enemy patrols and ambient enemies, and is incredibly good for solo running and speedruns, and honestly, just for regular gameplay too, if you're trying to revive allies or clutch a bad situation. And this situation is about to get pretty bad here. We got a bunch of storm vermin. One of us gets down by an overhand. That's Kruber. I'm gonna try to fight to get him up real quick and dash away real fast. And I know there's a Packmaster coming up behind him. I dodged the Packmaster, dude. I dodged the Warp Fire Thrower, and then got the revive. And we're killing the Horde right now. And things are looking a little bit bad. We just lost a hero. Just lost another hero. Dwarf goes down. Only Soul Spires left at the moment. I'm dealing with the Horde. I should probably be moving up to cover my ally up top. But I didn't want to be near that corner because of that Packmaster. So Packmaster comes for me. And I was thinking about maybe going for the revive right there. But it's way too dangerous with a Packmaster that close. I didn't want to risk just like diving in there and then getting pulled into the Horde and dying. So I jumped away. That might have... This is the thing, right? Like, when you're in the heat of the moment, it's kind of hard to make the right decision. And I don't know, ultimately, if I made the right one. Looking back on it, I feel like I made the right call. Yes, I let my dwarf die. But if I had gone for that revive next to that corner, Packmaster turns and just grabs me, the run's over. So, selfish play, sure. I made it so that I would live. But at the same time, suiciding yourself isn't a good idea either. So... looking back on it, watching that back again, I feel like I made the right call, but a better player than me might have been able to jump in there, dash towards the dwarf, dodge the Packmaster, and get the revive off. That is her purpose. I didn't feel confident doing that in the heat of the moment, so I didn't. But definitely interesting to discuss. I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments saying that I should have done something different, and that's perfectly fine. There were multiple things that could have been done there. I chose to make the safer play. So you saw there, though, like, someone without mobility like Handmaiden has, they might have just died. I was able to quickly extricate myself from a bad situation, get some space, easily headshot that Packmaster, and it ended up working out alright. We lost Grim, we lost a Tome, but at the end of the day, the run is still going, and we're still going to get a chance to fight the boss, should we make it that far. So, we're alive. And being alive is important because being dead is bad. High-level analysis from your boy Indie Pride there. Being dead in Vermintide or in real life is typically not a good thing. So, we will continue on through the mission. Gotten 2 of our allies back up already. That is one thing about Vermintide 2 that is very different as we engage a little mini patrol here from Vermintide 1, is that allies will almost always get downed much closer to you or respawn much closer to you than they did ever in the first game. If you remember, on Horde of Magnus or Cursed Rune, if you died, there would be times where you didn't get revived for maybe 5 minutes plus. People would have to go through huge swaths of the mission to get to your dead body and get you back up again. That's not really a thing in this game. A lot of the times you'll die and then spawn over in the next room or 2 over. It only takes like a minute or 2 to get to you. It's interesting. And I think part of the reason for that is that there's just so many more specials in this game that they feel like they don't want to put you in a situation where you have to go huge swaths of the map without reviving anybody. Although, of course, Heroic Deeds have that. That's so cool. God, Warfire is so awesome. They don't want to put you in a situation where you have to go super far, where there are times where there are like 3 or 4 specials that spawn on you at once, which wasn't really as much of a thing as what happened in the first game. But yeah, it's very interesting, very different. There are tons of the mechanics that are very similar to the prequel, but tons of them that have changed pretty massively. That's one of the bigger ones I've noticed. Although there have been a few times, I played Screaming Bell yesterday, where I got downed and then spawned all the way up at the bell itself when we were at the bottom of that street. It was really bizarre. Like, I was literally put about... I didn't get to play for about 10 minutes. which was pretty frustrating. But that's been rare. That's been very rare. It's usually that you spawn really close to your teammates, which makes it a little bit easier to clutch. And if you're not seeing the whole theme about Handmaiden right now, what makes her so special, I don't know what you're watching, to be honest. Because it's not even that this is like incredibly good Handmaiden gameplay or anything. I just mean like her ability to, and you'll see more of that I think a little bit later on too, but just her ability to revive allies, her ability to tank a lot of damage with her blocks, and just the mobility that she has, the clutch potential. Think about what she can do at level 25. She does something that no other character in the game can do, which is de-aggro patrols. Get enough space and basically just make an entire patrol if they descended on you. I mean, think about that on Legend, right? You get 8 or 10 Chaos Warriors on you at once, that's almost always going to ruin the mission. Like, if you're in even a remotely bad spot, there's no way you're killing 10 Chaos Warriors in a horde. Sometimes even a boss comes. That's a gigantic problem. But all you gotta do on Handmaiden is press F, get some space, and if you get far enough away from that patrol, literally will de-aggro, literally will not chase you. They'll continue on their patrol, act like they never even saw you. That's like game breaking. That's so huge. And so it means that she can get you out of these situations that no other character can get you out of. Makes her pretty unique, makes her pretty fun. So I do recommend her. I recommend her a lot. I've been having a ton of fun with Handmaiden so far. I think she's a really good character. And she might not have been during the beta, but certainly has found a very unique, very interesting niche at this point. And I think you'll be seeing her a lot in solo and duo runs specifically because of that. Like, you talk about true solo, going into a map, killing your bots, and just running through the entire map yourself. Her escape mechanisms, incredibly important, incredibly useful. And this is one of my favorite runs in the game for sure. You've gotten good looks at it already, I think. But the vistas, the underground nature of a Karak, they've always fascinated me. I've always thought the Dwarf Karaks were just incredibly cool to look at. And then you think about the fact that the Skaven rose up from even beneath this Karak, came from the Under Empire, and then just completely turned Karak Knoll into a Skaven hive city. It's just the scale of it, and the fact that they're able to use these crazy steampunk technologies to completely terraform everything, overrun it, and then there's that juxtaposition, I guess, between the rickety shacks and the crappy slave homes, and then the really advanced but completely devastating and unwieldy technology that the Skaven possess. It's just really interesting. Skaven have always been one of the most memed cultures or races in Warhammer Fantasy, but for very good reason. I mean, they're just unique and interesting and weird, bizarre, and over the top, and they're Warhammer. They're quintessential Warhammer, and it's really cool to see it in action. So I'm gonna do it right there. You see it. I get a revive as the poison gas comes down, but I just dash out of the way. Most other characters in the game would have had to have eaten that gas, taken a lot of damage while they sat inside it, but I took a little bit from that initial thing as the gas went down, but still got the revive off, and then most of the time I spent outside of it. So, just, I mean, and you think about that. You have like 5 Chaos Warriors chasing after you. You don't have time to get a revive off because they're going to close the gap and stun you. Although I guess with her, you wouldn't get stunned, but you would take a lot of damage, maybe get downed, which is not good. But yeah, you don't have to worry about that. You can completely avoid their attacks simply by starting the revive and dashing away. So we're getting very close here to the finale. Skarrak Spine Mangler, Skaven Warlord, who has the exact same animations as Crench from the Stromdorf DLC. Not an easy boss fight. Not easy at all. Not easy on Champion, not easy on Legend. He can be pretty tough. He's hard to bring down. So, what do you typically want to do against a boss like him? Well, for one, you want some coordination. When you decide to bomb people, when you decide to bomb him rather, you want to time it so that you're not throwing bombs at the same time. You probably want to time it so that you're hitting the extra hordes and swarms that will be surrounding him at times. I don't want to talk too much about it actually until we get in there, because I want you to actually see what we're talking about, how the boss fight actually goes. But I will say that even with pre-made groups, it's not the easiest boss fight. Like, you really want to have a pre-made comp that works specifically for taking him down. And especially if people are joining randomly in quick play or something, that does make it a little bit more challenging to get the right team comp. I don't think we have a bad team comp here, but I wouldn't say it's fantastic either. Skark is harder, I think, than even the Chaos Lord at the end of War Camp, because you can't stun lock him as easily. The War Camp boss, you can actually keep him perma-stunned with stuff like Pyromancer ultimate, with Knight ultimate. He has a lot less invulnerability frames during his animations, but Skark, it feels like a lot of the times you try to stun him, he just won't care. He won't get stunned at all, and that becomes kind of problematic. But I don't think it's himself that's actually the biggest issue with this fight. It's the spawns that come with it. The Plague Monks, the Storm Vermins that drop down. Dealing with that and the boss at the same time is pretty hard. Now, right here, very bad bomb for me, 100% my fault. Should not have bombed that. I did a lot of damage to Saltspire there that I shouldn't have. Issue with communication. I am going to get the revive off there and jump away and not take too much damage from his attacks. But yeah, I should not have bombed that because it did lead to Saltspire getting downed earlier there than he should have. He should have, ideally he wouldn't have gotten downed, period. But that I should not have bombed. I absolutely should not have bombed. So we already have a dead Saltspire now. Definitely partially my fault at least. Although he definitely took a bunch of hits there that he probably didn't need to as well. But Kruber's down too. It's me and Dwarf. And oh no, Kruber's not down yet. He's just white health. Barton got him back up. But we need lots of good crowd control at this point. We need to just keep him stun locked or try to. But before that, we need to deal with all this trash that's coming down. And these are things that I don't remember happening as much on Legend difficulty on earlier patches. I feel like some of these spawns, I don't remember them happening before. There's just a lot of Plague Monks and Storm Vermins to deal with when you're dealing with a boss at the same time. So every time waves come down, you need to group up. That is the first and foremost, most important thing. You need to corner up, wall scoot along the flanks, use that slot system where Skaven can only occupy a certain number of slots around your character, and by standing next to a wall, you prevent more enemies from getting into that zone and attacking you, which is why you see very good players typically fight near walls and just kind of keep their back to them because they can't get attacked from behind. But we're kind of all over the place right now. Not great coordination. Kind of the bane of Vermintide gameplay in general. Gonna get another revive here. Will get Barton up, but I've taken some hits here as I was trying to escape. And now I'm one hit from going down as well. And we have a white health Kruber, we have a white health Barton. I'm one hit from going down. Skark is at half health. I personally haven't done a lot of damage to him because I've been focusing on the enemies that are on the flanks. Longbow can do some damage to him, but honestly, my kit right here, the glaive, is better. Getting close to him, though, is scary, though, because he does stuff like that. That attack can hit you from literally like 50 feet away when he does his side horizontal swipe. You gotta just keep your block up when he does that. But now we have Plague Monks, we have Storm Vermin. There are a lot of ambient trash and elite enemies on the field right now. Plague Monk goes down to a crit from my Longbow. Get the glaive. Keep trying to do damage. He's now down below half. But Kruber is like one hit from death. Plague Monk goes down. And I need to get to him. I go down. And that is probably going to be the run unless Kruber can come up with something crazy here. And he does not. So, that in a nutshell is Into the Nest in pub games for me. I think the only time I've successfully beaten that on Champion or Legend is when I'm playing with people that I know. But as host, if no one's stepping up to be a leader and communicate and give people a solid plan of attack, that's my job, and I didn't do it that run. That was my fault. And I think it's a good lesson on how keeping people on the same page can make boss fights like this so much easier. We had the team comp to win, I think. We just didn't execute and kind of ran around like chickens with our heads cut off. So hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay. See you next time, Indie Pride. Signing out for now.